Um, so we talk about a little bit about the karma, what is karma, and we also talk about a little bit about some of the possible misunderstanding or not complete understanding of karma. Then, in terms of karma, then, in terms of different experience that it produces, we can kind of categorize karma into, negative or non-virtuous karma, positive virtuous karma, and neutral karma. Actions or karma that produce, pleasant experience, joy and happiness in terms of result that produce that kind of experience is a positive karma, positive virtuous karma. And then the actions, the karma that produce unpleasant experience, pain, suffering, that is, negative karma, non-virtuous karmas. And then we don't only experience either pleasant and unpleasant. We also have experience of neutral experiences, isn't it? Sometimes we have painful experience, sometimes we have joyful experience, happy, joyful experience, sometimes we have more unpleasant, painful experience, and sometimes we have more neutral experiences. And the karma that produced that is known as neutral karma. And normally you don't see much mentioning of neutral karma, isn't it? Mostly we see positive, negative karma. I personally kind of little fascinated of that neutral karma. And of course, it does mentions in, like Vasubandhu Abhidhamma Koshas about those three kind of karma due to producing those three different experiences, feelings, but without much detail. And I'm kind of fascinated in that because normally there is generally kind of feeling, if it's not positive karma, it is always negative karma somehow. And kind of that, it put us in it feel like we are constantly creating negative karma all the times. Everything that is not virtuous karma is, but I'm wondering maybe, there is a lot of time we create more neutral karmas. And that come into some kind of, because if we think that, then it almost feel like hopeless. Do you get it? Because what happens in the futures generally is what karma is more stronger. And if I'm creating negative karma most of the time in my everyday life, it seems like I'm going to have more stronger negative karma, which means I'm going to experience the result of that next, which doesn't seem so positive, hopeful, and sometimes it might be a little kind of discouraging as well, But when I look from this neutral karma, it kind of gives me a little bit more hope. Maybe we create a lot of time more neutral karma, not necessarily always negative karma, which virtues when it is not virtues. And that comes into a little bit of kind of, what you call conflict or of in Nagarjuna's precious garlands, he described the action that has been motivated by ignorance, either ignorance or attachment or anger, are described as negative karma, And then, the actions that are motivated by non-attachments and non-angers, non-ignorance, those positive state of minds are described as a positive karma. So when you look from that, then when you don't have realization of emptiness, it seems like all our actions is motivated by ignorance. So that is why even the positive karma are contaminated karma, because it doesn't become antidote for samsara. It still becomes cause of samsara. It's just higher rebirth and better situation within the samsara. Those virtues karma. The virtues positive karma, we call they are contaminated because they have been contaminated by in terms of cause, ignorance. In terms of result, it doesn't become cause and condition to free from samsara. Instead, it becomes cause and condition for samsara existence. It's just better situation within the samsara, higher rebirth and better, less pain, less sufferings, more better condition within the samsara. Let's put it that way. So then when it comes to that, then so then what does that mean when Nagarjuna says all the action motivated by one of those three root delusions are negative karma? Isn't all our actions motivated by ignorance? If that is the case, would all our action become a negative karma because they are motivated by the ignorance? They are motivated by ignorance because we don't have the wisdom realizing emptiness. So, I myself, having contemplated on that for a long time, trying to understand and find out where there is no conflict, what it does really means, because it doesn't make sense that every action we created motivated by the ignorance, therefore it becomes negative karma, because first of all, there is always positive karma and negative karma to start with. And also in Abhidharma Kosha, they talk about three karmas because of three different experiences it produced. Therefore, it also talks about neutral karma. So then what happens to neutral karmas? Where did it get lost? Where did it get lost? And in terms of experience, we have those three experience. It's not always either happiness and sufferings. A lot of time we have more neutral experiences. So what is the cause of that? So, and then, when we talk about motivations, so in some scripture, they talk about two level of motivations. What they call causal motivations and motivation at the time of actions. So I think when Nagarjuna describes, the action that is motivated by those three delusional thoughts, any of those three delusional, that is a negative karma, I think he's talking about more of the motivation at the time of the actions, not the causal motivations. Do you get it? The causal motivation is more like kind of almost like, we don't use that words in our Buddhist, almost like on subconscious level, almost like that, because we don't have the wisdom realizingness, and therefore on the depth there is the ignorance there. It comes. But in terms of, creating the action itself, at the moment of creating the action itself, necessarily there's no arising of that ignorance in that moment. And so therefore, it is not motivated by that ignorance at that time. And so therefore, even though all our action can be motivated by ignorance on causal level, in much more deeper level, but in terms of manifesting at the time of actions, it's not always manifesting or arising. And so when it's not manifesting, arising that moment, so then that doesn't become, sometimes it could be motivated at the time of actions by anger, sometimes at the time of actions motivated by attachment, strong craving. Sometimes it might be manifested or motivated by strong arising of ignorance at that moment, And so any of actions that we create by motivated and by arising of any of those emotions at the time of the actions, then those become negative karma, And at the time of actions, where your action is motivated by arising of non-attachments, non-anger, non-ignorance, and so forth, those become positive karma. Even though both of them on causal level, they could be motivated by the ignorance, fundamental ignorance. And then at the time of engaging in actions, is neither arising or motivated by any of negative thoughts, such as ignorance, attachment, anger, nor it can be motivated by that moment by non-attachment, non-anger, but it's more kind of arising by the neutral state of mind. almost like
equanimity.
Yeah, equanimity is, I don't know the right, because there is a virtuous mind.
Yes.
In terms of mental factors.
Mental fears.
Yeah, but in terms of, you don't have any of those negative feelings, nor we just do things. We just do things without any arising, any particularly either positive thought, negative thoughts, just kind of neutral thoughts, or have almost like no thoughts. And whether those are the neutral actions, neutral karma. I like to think that way. Otherwise, I cannot find how to describe neutral karma, which is described in Abhidhamma Koshas in terms of producing a neutral experience, which we all know our experience, we have neutral experience, and there is a similar cause, and that is neutral karma. And what does neutral karma means, because whether it's Nagarjunas and others, they don't describe much about that. They describe what is positive karma, what is negative karma, with what motivations when you act become positive karma, with what motivation you act, it positive mind, it become a negative or positive karma, but it doesn't describe about with what motivation it is when it becomes neutral karmas. And so that I will say it will be when our mind is not motivated by the time of action, either by any of those 8 virtuous mind or nor any of those 21 secondary and root delusions, especially root delusions, And because, again, within the Buddhist study, there are 51 mental factors, and many of them are neither virtuous, neither delusion. Many of them are more neutral state of mind. And when we engage into actions by motivated those neutral state of mind at that moment, arising from that, then that can be neutral karma. What do you think? Normally, we don't hear much and not much to discuss.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Still a karma question. Thank you. The question I have is about pure intention while still making the wrong decision. So, for example, if I'm the speed limit is 60 kilometers an hour, and I think I need to say, take someone to a hospital. So I go 70 kilometers an hour because I feel it's the right thing. And I still get a speeding ticket, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
For me, there might have been pure intention, but it might have been misguided because it wasn't so urgent, or that action might have caused other injury. So I always find it hard to distinguish karma there, because there was possibly a form of wrong action, but I'm not sure if it was wrong action because the motivation was pure.
Mm-hmm.
Could you speak to that?
Okay. I think, first of all, Buddha spoke very strongly about importance of both wisdom and compassion. So, right intentions being the compassionate intentions, But at the same time, he also spoke the importance of wisdom. Sometimes to help yourself or help others, we need both that. We need the compassion for yourself, compassion for others, to be able to help yourself, to help others. But sometimes to really able to help, compassion just itself is not enough. We need the right wisdom. What is the most beneficial way to help yourself, and right way or beneficial way to help others? Sometimes even the right intentions, sometimes instead of being able to help, the intention to help, but instead we hurt someone more, upset them more. And because there is lack of wisdom, not finding the right way to help, right way to benefit. In terms of intention, there's nothing wrong in that. But not having the right skillful means or the wisdom to find the right way to help, benefit. And so that there is we can see that even with our experience. Not only we talk about the enlightenment, but even in our general ordinary life experience, that is. And also sometimes we might have the right wisdom and skillful means where we can have the tools, right way, means to solve someone's problem, reduce someone's sufferings. But due to lack of compassion, sometimes we don't help. We don't reach out and help others and oneself. Sometimes, it's not that you don't have the wisdom or the skillful means. It's due to lack of compassion that you are unable to help either yourself or others both. So that is why the importance of both wisdom and compassion is important. If we have both of them, then it becomes, then you have both the right tools to benefit yourself and benefit others. When one of them missing, then it becomes unable to help benefit truly. But in terms of that, back to your own questions about that, with the right intentions, motivations, and in terms of the actions. If there's kind of course, normally, in generally, the foundational teachings or Four Noble Truths, from that point of view, you should avoid at any cost engaging in any of 10 non-virtuous actions. That is the case. That is on the very foundational practice based on the Four Noble Truths. That is, on any case, they say even in your course, you shouldn't engage in engaging in any of non-virtuous actions. You should avoid engaging in that. But when it comes to the Bodhisattva's practice, then if you act with the right motivation, or Bodhisattva motivation, then some of those acts are allowed or is okay. But not only allowed, okay, actually you should engage. Such as sometimes you need to tell a lie. And it is only okay to lie, but you should lie. For example, of course, giving an example. You are hiking in the mountains, forest. Then you see 100, chasing animals, deer, whatever animals. And you saw that animal running this side. And then the hunter comes and asks, did you see the deer or animals? In that case, your motivations is true compassion to protect the animal as well as protect the person from creating negative karma. So in that cases, lying is okay. Not really lying is encouraged to protect life of both the animal who is being otherwise could be killed, as well as the being who is creating a negative karma of killings. So, but the intention motivation has to be correct and pure. And that is where complication comes. Our mind can be so tricky.
Yeah.
Our mind can be so tricky that sometimes we can take all these excuses, you know. And that is where we have to be more watchful, mindful, honest, looking into deep intention motivation. Is it real intention? Is it true good intention motivation, or am I trying to just trick myself? Am I just trying to fool myself? So those are the things that we have to analyze ourselves and be more honest with ourselves and to look more deeply with ourselves. Other than that, then in those cases, yeah, you know, then in such cases, then it's not negative karma, it's a positive karma, you know, and that can be, you know, when it's, even though it doesn't say it is positive karma, negative karma specifically, but also I have a little bit kind of doubt, or I'm also not 100% sure. Sometime I might want to kind of say, you know, in doing that, you create both positive karma and negative karma, but the negative karma you create much bigger than the positive karma you created out of that compassion is much more stronger than negative karma that you have created by lying. So then when you balance your positive karma that you create out of compassions, overwhelm is much more stronger than negative karma that you are creating by lying. So it's still negative karma that you created, but because of good intentions, you created more stronger amount of, much more bigger amount of positive karma. That is something like kind of, I myself want to come into that kind of conclusion, even though there's no clarity in that, whether it's positive karma, negative karma. I haven't seen with this clarity in that, even though you find story of, you know, the bodhisattvas, you know, out of compassion, taking the life of others in order to protect the 100 bodhisattvas as well as the person who is going to kill them, and all of that. And because of that, the incredible amount of merit that he collect and make a huge progress in the path. There is that kind of descriptions and that explanation, but there is no clearly explained whether that act of killing was negative karma or not, or whether it's positive karma or not. There is no clarity in that mentioning of any of texts that I've seen, except for explaining of how much positive karma created because of incredible compassions. So my kind of trying to understand that is by creating the lying or engaging in any of the 7 non-virtuous actions motivated by the compassion, true compassions, bodhicitta, then, you know, you still create negative karma because of the compassion, you create more positive karma, and thereby, you know, the negative karma is totally kind of overpower. You know, you gain more than what you lost. you know. That is some, but again, as I said, I cannot be 100% sure to say, because I haven't seen in any scriptures, nor I've heard from any teachers specifically that way. But I find myself a little bit conflict, so I try to understand between those two things. And in my mind, that is how I try to solve my conflict, you know. And in regarding to these two seemingly contradictions, you know, so how do you know, solve without being contradictory? And so that is something that in my mind, to do that kind of analysis, that somehow for me it kind of solve the contradiction in me and from the both side in that way. You know, so, you know, you get speeding ticket, but you get award for saving someone's life. Okay, because you overspeed it, regardless of your intentions, you still get the tickets. But because of your intention and the right intention and save someone's life, you get the award for that too. And you could have both, you know. Mm. So anyway, there's something for you to contemplate, you know, and come up with your own kind of understanding on that. And that is my way of trying to understand the conflict within my mind, you know. And so, you know, when I see a lot of statements like that, you find in different scriptures, and, you know, I try to contemplate, sometimes have discussions with other friends, with others, try to contemplate to find kind of where there's no conflictions in that, you know, how to find a way that there is no conflictions. We shouldn't be conflictions. Sometimes we don't know how to find the right way without conflict. We seemingly feel almost like sometimes contradictions, but there shouldn't be any contradictions. Mm. So yeah, so that is related to that questions, and there's a questions here. Yes. Well,
Would it be okay to talk a bit more?
yeah, it seems okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Testing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make sense. Understand you know, the core and the action component.
Uh-huh.
Closer. Okay. And I don't understand the causal aspect of neutral karma, given that it is, in my mind, something that is almost free of motivation. I'm not sure if I'm wrong, but please correct me. And the other aspect to that, or a second part to this, my question, I suppose, is it close to, for example, if you're in meditation and your thoughts are slowing down and neutral karma is actually stopping, contributing to the momentum, and well, positive karma is actually keeping the wheel spinning a little bit in your mind somehow. I'm not sure if I'm on the right track, but please.
Yeah, as I mentioned, neutral karma is something I'm also exploring, as I said, because it is something that is not mentioned so much. It's not something that talks a lot. That is something you don't also find so much in the different teachings. It mostly is about positive karma and negative karmas. But also in terms of, as I mentioned, in Abhidharma koshas, when they talk about the karma, there are different ways of understanding karma in terms of from different experiences it produces, different result it produce in terms of different rebirth, in terms of many different ways, contaminated, uncontaminated, and so on. And in terms of experience, there is explanations of just in terms of just categories of positive karma, negative karma, neutral karma, in terms of different experiences that it presents. Other than that, there's not so much detailed explanations. And that is where I myself is trying to understand that. And that's what I believe, or trying to think of that, and it started, I think, I started to have more thought on that because one time one student asked me, because she has been listening to many teachings, and she felt very disappointed, responsive, hopeless, because everything we do is negative karma, because it's dilute, because it's motivated, because in the teaching is if you're actually motivated by one of those negative emotions and ignorance, so then that means it's negative karmas, And so she felt there's no hope for us. There's no hope until we have realizations of emptiness. There's no hope of not creating negative karma all the time. Almost like you are creating negative karma 24 hours. And I thought about it, and she has a point. She has a point, So that kind of gave me to think more about exploring the neutral karma, which I didn't come out myself, but it's in Vasubandhu. It's just that there's no clarity, so much clear explanation on that, And again, also with our experience, we know that, every moment is not that not every moment is neither arising of negative thought, neither is positive thought. There are times where we have just neutral thoughts. Don't we have? Isn't there we have a thought, many moments in our life where we don't have compassions or wisdom, non-attachment, non-ignorance, or non-angers, or other positive thoughts. Also, there are times when we are not upset and angry, or we are not necessarily strongly, grasping and also as well as, you know, what do you call, attachments in the moments. And there are many times when we are creating action, those moments when we have those neutral state of minds, while we don't have either positive or negative thoughts. We have neutral state of minds. And so those actions that are created, that is being motivated by those neutral state of minds, you know, those motivation doesn't have to be either positive or negative thoughts. It can be neutral thoughts, you know. Just wanting to do something. I just, not necessarily being very attached to something, but I just want to do something, you know. I just want to go to work, or I just want to do some things. Neither you are attached to that or other things, but you just feel like you want to do that. You want to take a shower. You have the motivation to take a shower. It doesn't have to be out of attachment to do that. When you're taking a shower, it doesn't have to be attachments. Of course, sometimes it can be attachments, but it doesn't, you just have the motivation or intention to take a shower. And that will be more kind of neutral state of minds, the intention to take a shower, and you take a shower. That act of taking shower can be neutral. And so I think there could be many others like that. So again, as I said, that is what I think. I could be totally wrong and off. You know, I don't want to say is absolutely accurate. I don't have any kind of teachings or others to support that. But definitely there is the concept of neutral karma. And so if there is neutral karma, then what will be the motivations? You know, and so it can't be one of those three delusions. It can't be one of those, such as those virtuous thoughts. So then what can it be? More neutral state of minds. And how can be that neutral state of mind? And just as I said, just intention and motivation to take a shower, intention and motivation to take just a walk, intention and motivation to just to keep yourself fit, you know. So those can be, you know, and all this intention motivation doesn't have to always be motivated by either attachments or negative or positive thoughts. It can be. So that is my thoughts, okay, which is something that you can think about it. You can think about it. You can discuss with others. You can try to ask other teachers and see, you know, and try to have understanding of that. But because, as I said, I cannot say with 100% that, you know, for me, it makes more sense in that way, but it doesn't mean that's the truth, reality. Yes, Owen.
Yeah, thanks, Geshe. Last night you said that you should look on the positive side of things rather than the negative side of things, and that things like, say, criticizing others builds up that negativity in yourself and in others, and is not so good. Over the years, I've noticed in centres that you can have what I've called the emperor has no clothes syndrome.
What is that?
I won't go into the story of the emperor. But, yeah, no, it's not. But what it means is that you could have a situation when things are not going well, and not being,
Discuss.
no, well, they're not being, the things are not going well at all. But no one will criticise because that's criticising, and therefore the situation builds, and Greg Hill once said, he's been at centres for years. He once said, when people get frustrated at centres, they won't say anything; they just leave. You never see them again. You never see them again. And so, on the one hand, if nothing is ever said, it can be quite destructive to the centre.
Yes, yes.
A lot of people leave.
Yes. It doesn't mean to not to say criticism. I will, instead of criticism, I will say giving a opinion, suggestions. When you say criticism, motivation is always something with kind of a little bit negative there. Criticisms have that kind of connection, especially in Tibetan. From that, there is some kind of negative feelings towards saying something that, So someone can point and explain with the right intention, motivations. This is how I feel it. This is what I see it, but respectfully, compassionately, gently. And that will be the way to communicate and to kind of, to have better, and it should be encouraged, that should be encouraged and should. But again, when we express our disagreements, when we feel things are not going the right way, or the best way, again, it always comes back to our intention. What is the motivation for me to say that? Is it coming from true good motivations? Or is it coming from my selfish attitude? Sometimes it could be, my way or your way, Sometimes it could. So, the mind can be very tricky. And again, it comes back to that, be very mindful. And if our intention is really good, it's the best for the organization, best for the society, best for the others. And then when you feel like you need to share, you need to speak, and then you speak it. But it has to have the right intention, motivation. And if it comes with the right intention, motivation, there will be more respect, even the way you say things, more gentle, more kind, more respectful. And when someone is able to present something different view, different idea, with more respectfully, with a more gentle, in more kind way, the other person is also willing to listen more. They are more open to listen it instead of shutting down it. But when they feel you are expressing something, but with a disrespectful, with a more harsh, and instead of trying to solve the problem, is trying to point your problem, your faults, instead of, it's not, sometimes it's not about the solution, is more about individual, your fault, because maybe I don't like you, because I don't like the way you do, whatever difference we might feel. And when someone comes with that, then other person also feel that energy, and then also the other person is more likely to respond more negatively, kind of shut down, or not listen at all, and not willing to listen, not willing to interact and discuss and dialogue and how to solve the problem, or sometimes not willing to but sometimes also themselves become more harsh and so on. And so I think that is the case, I think. So I think, bringing up issues, for the betterness of two persons, organizations, centers, any kind of organization, that to bring up those with the right intention, motivation, right way, should be encouraged and should be done that. But I think it is when we do the wrong intentions or the wrong state of mind and how we do it, then that become more criticisms and unhealthy criticisms. So I think that is where. Also in terms of focusing on the positive side, focusing on negative side, we don't have to put much effort. Our mind is drawn in negative side naturally. Even you try not to focus on negative side, your mind just go their way. That is how mind works. Naturally, you are drawn into negative thinkings, negative side. And so, but then your mind is drawn in the negative side, negative things. And when we give so much thought on that, then it feels like that is the reality, which is not reality. It's only one part of that factors. There's both positive side, negative side. But when you focus just on, then you started to feel this is the reality. So we consciously, because we are naturally not drawn toward the positive things, so we naturally not drawn toward that. So we have to put effort. We put effort to concentrate on the positive side of that. And when you concentrate on the positive side, then you are able to see more holistic view, more both sides. And your mind is also more balanced. Your mind is also more balanced. And so then you don't be so overwhelmed by the negativities, because you also see the positive side of that. And that's by being able to see that, it can balance your mind from being too negative about the situation, about the experience and whatever. And I think that is, I think that is the why. Of course, if we don't see the negative side, then of course, again, we can be also blinded, and then there's no way to improve it also. If you think everything is good, positive, But and seeing the negative side, as I said, it's so easy to see it. Your mind is drawn natural, so easily, without putting much effort. And so to balance your mind, to see the whole things, then that is where we need to put more effort in trying to see the virtues and the positive side, because that is not something we are able to do naturally, something that we need to train our mind to do that. And even there was one book, I don't remember the author. I don't think I read the whole book, but I think I read quite bits of that book. It's called Heart Wiring Happiness or something. And it was kind of fascinating in that I think it's written by a psychologist, and because that is something I have also always wondered, why our mind gets so attracted to negative so easily and not the positive things, that's very natural. And that is why the media's, everything's done on the negativities, because that is what attract people's attentions. If they are going to give all the positive things happening, they wouldn't be able to sell. their product. And for them, it's a lot of time it's a business. How can they sell the product more? And what attracts the product is when there's more negative, more people listen to the news, more people watch it, more people read about it. And when it's positive, sometimes you don't even notice the headline, or you just notice the headline and you don't go and reading the details. And that is how naturally our mind is. So, so anyway, I was also kind of fascinated why. And in his writing, it is interesting. He come with this theory of, evolutions. And in the evolutions, survival evolution. And because of that survival instinct, we still, even though maybe we don't need that anymore because we don't live in the like wild animals where it is all about being mindful, careful, watchful all the time because it's about survival. And so that is still kind of left in it. And because of that, any something negative happens, our mind is kind of attracted to that so easily. And not only attracted to that, it kind of remain in our mind more, imprint is more strong, And so that was interesting explanation. And again, to me, that makes sense to that. And so again, and even in that book, he also advised, that you need to intentionally put effort to build the positive thoughts because, so anyway, I think, yes. Yes, please.
Thomas, would you like to unmute?
Hello, Geshe. My question is with bodhicitta, because reflecting on the previous question, so we could be doing something that normally is a negative thing, such as lying or speeding to save a life. But then if we do it with an altruistic, pure intention, now, and I believe bodhicitta is the best intention there is, then we can also do neutral things with bodhicitta. Can we? So for example, I go to sleep. Why do I go to sleep? Because I need to take care of myself so that I can continue to do altruistic things and work towards enlightenment for all sentient beings. Why am I eating or just resting or just taking a shower? It's all because of bodhicitta. If we can do that in our daily lives, would all these neutral things that we do create the best positive karma for our bodhisattva path towards Buddhahood for all sentient beings? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Shantideva, in his Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, he explained the bodhicitta with the example of alchemy, giving with the alchemy that you can transform ordinary metal into the gold by the power of that. In the same way, by the power of the bodhicitta motivation, by the power of the bodhicitta mind, you can transform all the normally ordinary, neutral actions into something positive, something virtuous. And so that is exactly as you said, before we go to bed, trying to have bodhicitta motivation. Before you eat and while you are eating, trying to have bodhicitta motivation, while you take showers or while you, walk, hike, exercise, whatever form of exercise, while you are cleaning, preparing for the food. So whatever general ordinary activities that we engage in our everyday life, many of them are neutral and ordinary, by having the right intention, motivation for doing or engaging in each of them, and by engage in that intention, motivation, then definitely it can transform into virtues, and it transform into, as you mentioned, and to become cause of enlightenment, and therefore, to be able to create merit and positive karma or positive energies easily all the times, and therefore, also Shandeva mentions, in terms of purifications, the most powerful practice to purify is to cultivate and generate bodhicitta mind. And he used these examples like he mentions, negative karma are so easy to accumulate so easily. And virtues are so difficult to accumulate. It requires a lot of effort. Even a lot of effort sometimes is difficult. Whereas negative karma, we don't have to put any effort. It just seems so easy. In some Katamba masters, they say negative karma is almost like, the rock rolling down from the mountains. And the positive karma that you have to carry up, pushing up, is very difficult, and almost, and sometimes it feels like that, it's that. And so too, if there is any powerful antidote to destroy such a powerful negative karmas of having created so much negative karmas, then is the bodhicitta mind. And he gave an example, he said is like the fire at the time of destruction of the universe by the fire energies. So it is, in Buddhism, they explain about our universe. Universe comes and goes, comes and goes. The galaxy, the universe comes and goes, is impermanent, This will come to end, how much ever it lasts, millions, billions, whatever it lasts, and then one day it come to end. And then again, there's new universe startings, and they say it's sometime the whole galaxy or universe, planet is come to end by the power of element of the water, sometime by the fire, sometime by the air, sometime by the what was that? The Sachu Me Lung, Sachu, and the earth, so such as earthquake, so forth. So they talk when the whole planet, the universe come to the whole planet come to the end, our planet come to the end by the power of the sun, fire and elements. It says there's a time when there is a heat of 7 suns. So you can imagine the heat of 7 suns, and with that kind of heat, it melts everything. It melts everything, and through that, it can, even the most powerful mountains, seem so solid that it feels like nothing can destroy them. Even those mountains will be melted by the power of that heat. So the Shandideva use, the bodhicitta is like that that fire element at that time that can kind of melt and destroy everything. And similarly, it's the most powerful way for purification. Also, it's the most powerful way to accumulate merit, positive karma virtues. And as it said, because if you practice the bodhicitta, if you have the bodhicitta mind, or even when you don't have bodhicitta mind, if you try to cultivate the bodhicitta intention with each of those, everything that we do every moment, then 24 hours, you can continue to create merit, positive karma, all the times, And so therefore, it's a more powerful way of accumulating the merit as well. And therefore, the Katamba masters say, if you practice the bodhicitta, this will purify, that need to purify, and it will also accumulate, that you need to accumulate. You will accumulate the merit by itself through the practice of bodhicitta. It will also purify through the power of bodhicitta. So it is one of very powerful method for both accumulating merit and accumulating merit and for the purifications. Okay. So I guess maybe we'll do the dedications.
Page 8. Yawadi.
Nyo tam lama sanke jo ne do wa chi kyam ma le pa e sa la que ba shou sen cho ren bo che ma ke pa na ke kyo che ke wa nyam ba me ba yang kong le kong do pe wa shou.
Incomparably kind.
And supreme cleansing Gyatso, which cleansing, which fulfilling yours, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world. May you have long life and all your wishes be spontaneous fulfilled. Teacher an assembly of children of victorious one, Savagam Pradya Buddhas, victorious Lord, Son, Father, and Son, along the lineage master, all the objects of refuge on infinite lands. Please bestow the virtues and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holy and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through the explanation and practice. You are the utmost of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make a request. While stopping single-pointedly for the sake of victorious one teaching, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge. And for mother living beings, you certainly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of blessings of the oceans of terrestrials and the great wave of bodhicitta of children of victorious one, may the smile of reincarnation swiftly beam in the glory for fortunate disciple. Namahu, in accordance to various disposition, those to be subdued, make clear in the light of your well-spoken advice the circumstance tradition, the sense of Buddha's teachings. Foremost, Holy Lama, to you who are supreme, we make this supplication. Lama, please lead. Thank you very much. So I think it must be very relief from the heat and from the teachings as well. External and internal conditions. Your mind is ready to explode.